Hello and welcome back to the end of another week. We are out in the garden at sunset while there's still enough light to take some video because I wanted to show you what's going on up here. So some of you may remember from way back, and I started these beds. We didn't actually have the fence up yet. The fence was completely demolished and we had to redo it. So originally when I planned the 1 meter paths, I was just eyeballing it. So now it's a year later and we have the fence in, and the paths were actually significantly bigger than I had planned. So it basically gives me the opportunity to make my beds a little wider. At first they were 1.20 meters, which works out to be about 4 feet, which is really sufficient. But this way they're going to be, I'm not exactly sure how big they are now, but the path is 1 meter, so the path is roughly 3 feet, and then I have the bed. So basically I got like another 6 inches or so on this side, so you can see where I kind of stopped digging it up. And next week I will continue to go ahead and dig up this little section. So it'll just make the beds a little bigger. And you can, well, you can't really see, but I do have this string mark on straight. So another thing that's been happening is obviously as the beds are kind of sinking, because I did the double dig garden method, because this entire area was basically the previous owner's dump. So there were like nets and rocks and sheets of whatever, metal ribbons, all kinds of stuff like in the dirt here. So I didn't do the entire space. I've only been double digging the beds that I'm going to use. And the idea is that you only have to really double dig once. It's kind of a one and done thing. Some people do it every year. I'm not. I was only doing it to clean the soil and get all the big rocks out and the concrete and the nets and things like that. And then in the future, I'll just go ahead and just keep putting compost on it. But in the meantime, it has settled a bit from the initial double dig, and all the mulch from my paths has kind of been working its way into the bed. So I am thinking of ways to resolve that for this year. That may involve destroying some of my pallets and salvaging the pallet wood and just like doing a pallet wood border to delineate the bed and the paths. That'll come eventually. But yeah, so that's what's happening out here. You may remember too, at the end of last week, we had a lot of water, a lot of rain, which is great because we need the rain. But it did result in these beds being flooded. They have since, they've since drained. They actually drained a lot faster than I anticipated. So I know it's looking pretty sorry, but I'm pretty sure they will bounce back. But these are my 2 rhubarb plants. So the rhubarbs are in the middle. I'm going to surround them with strawberries. Probably the like fraise de bois, the woodland strawberries that we have out here that are super small and very, very good. And those will go around in here. And then I put the I was going to put 3 arches, but only 2 ended up fitting, which is fine. So I put the 2 arches in, and I'll be growing beans on those. And then here you can kind of see where I'm kind of experimenting with like some pallet wood to delineate the path from the garden. And that's working out pretty well. And it still stays kind of rustic looking. So I may continue that. I haven't decided yet. So yeah, so that's happening. Things are happening here. The rest of the garden is just gonna happen over time. I'm not really in a rush to do it all. And we're still doing a lot of stuff in the house. But I do want to go ahead and get this bed done because there's nothing growing in here now. I took all the strawberries out and they're actually chilling in a basket waiting to be transplanted into the strawberry bed over there. And yeah, that'll basically like completely prep this bed for springtime planting. And I haven't decided quite yet what I'll be putting in there, but I'll figure it out as I go. These beds, I can't really do much. Well, I don't want to do too much with them just because there's still things growing in them. So what I may end up doing is like here I have an empty space. So I might go ahead and kind of like prep this little area for planting, go ahead and leave these ones unbothered. And then I have another like space up in here that is basically empty. I mean, minus the parsley. But I'm not going to be digging more on this side anyway, because the line is pretty much where the bed is. I'll just be increasing the bed a little bit on that side. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I think next week I'll only have time to get that portion done, but we'll see. Maybe I'll be able to do this one as well. You can kind of see the solar lights are starting to pop on. You can't really see the starbursts because it's not dark enough. But yeah, so that is the garden. We are moving into the house kind of in earnest right now because we're actually planning a 1-year wedding anniversary / open house type thing for some of Francis's friends here in France. And that's going to be in the middle of March. So we have basically a month to get our act together. And I think that's also going to involve getting a lawnmower so that we can mow up in here before that event. We had lots of wind last week and we lost a bunch of tiles. So if I zoom in, you can see the metal is supposed to be showing, but those little things sticking out of the roof are supposed to have these curved tiles. So there's supposed to be curved tiles all the way up that line. We had crazy, insane winds. And basically, like, once one tile started falling, a bunch kind of followed after. We did also lose some tiles on this side. I'm not even sure what these are called, like scale tiles. So we do have the roofer guy who's supposed to be coming out to send somebody up there to just check it, replace the tiles, check this side, and just make sure that everything's okay and continues to be watertight, because we are expecting more rain next week. But let's go in and check out what's happening inside. Okay, so in the house, we're working on tons of things. I'm gonna start upstairs really quickly. So in the hobby space, Francis is getting his toys set up. We're bringing all of the boxes, but we don't have the tables or the storage or anything like that. So it's a little weird, but it's getting there. 3D printer, some other things maybe I'll explain later. But yeah, so this is the hobby space. It's getting moved into. We got the light finally mounted. Francis's office is pretty much done. He's working here fairly regularly. This is where, we used my entire fabric collection to help pad our boxes that came over. So as we're unpacking, a lot of the padding was my fabric. So I'm buying these boxes which are airtight, and that way these can actually go into the storage in the attic, which we've set up, but since it's already dark, I'm not going to show you right now. If we head back downstairs, this front space is still a disaster. It always seems to be a disaster. But over here, I took my desk back. So all of this stuff is basically like tools and supplies from the renovation that we have to go through and organize and eventually try to either put in the workshop or up in the attic. So Francis and I are hopefully going to do that sometime this week. But the desk was given to me for my room. So in my room, I have the desk set up. And so I have this like little corridor. And again, like everything else, I have all my stuff, but I have no storage. So I am expecting a big, low, like buffet type thing that's going to go on that wall, which will give a lot of storage. I set up my rat cage for storage, and that way I could start getting things off the ground, so I had room for some of this other furniture. I'm not sure if my sewing station will be able to stay in this room or not. Francis has the dimensions for the buffet that's going to go in the back, so we're going to kind of like tape it out and then sort of see what works. And then I have all of my gardening stuff that's in progress, plus the shed that needs to be fixed. And then like that door goes to the outside. So yeah, my gardening things hopefully will start living outside, but the wind is insane and was like blowing things all over the place. So I'm not really sure. Some of the gardening stuff may end up having to stay in my room. Yeah, the bathroom is what it is. We need to get the wallpaper on. So there's a bunch of like little projects that we still need to do in the bedroom. One of the priorities is to try to get this closet set up because we had gotten all of the stuff from IKEA before we had the flood in the bedroom. So all of the stuff now needs to get set up. And basically we have to kind of like re-clean this space and then hopefully get some of that up on the walls so that we can start bringing our clothes in, because again, like we used our clothes to help pack the boxes. And so now all of that is coming out and needs to go somewhere. So yeah, I have like a stack of fabric there that needs to go into boxes. It's a little overwhelming at the moment. Francis got this fireplace, the doors redone. So last week, I think I mentioned that this ended up being a much bigger project than we had anticipated. So he basically took it completely apart, and it's totally black now, but these were pristine. He basically refabricated he refabricated all of these like metal pieces. So I think I have a photo of when it was fresh before we started using it. And the soot is a problem from we were running the fireplace way too low. But anyway, yeah, we have fire. The doors work. The new, like, I'm not sure what that's called, but the new rope insulation stuff is there. On the outside, you can kind of see it, but it is what it is, and it works, so we're happy with that. But yeah, things to come. We are debating whether or not we're going to start working on this room. I really want to try to finish all the little things, plus there's like a ton of cleanup. So I mentioned earlier, we have our 1-year wedding anniversary / open house in the middle of March. So that's basically a month away. And the house isn't going to be done. We're not actually going to be moved in, but we're going to have some friends over to celebrate mainly our 1 year anniversary, because our whole wedding thing got a little hectic and crazy with my immigration stuff. So yeah, we are trying to harass the carpenter to bring in the display cabinet, because that would really help with storage. Plus, Francis has a lot of his, he fabricates swords and things. So he has his knives and his swords that he'd like to have displayed for the event in March. This all needs to get sorted and put away somewhere. I need to finish cleaning the stairs and doing the painting. So I think this next week is really going to be kind of all those little finishing things. I'm trying to finally get to this thing, but we'll see. Things are moving, but there's like all those little things that still need to happen. And one big thing that hasn't even started. So that's where we're at, and it is very dark now. And I have to do another déchetterie run. So yeah, that's it for this week. I hope you have a good one, and I will see you next week. Bye.